Hello, I'm Dr. Carol Brown, the founder of the Equipping Minds Brain Development Center. And I am honored to be sharing with you today how to help students who are struggling with math. Now, I am going to be sharing with you a free handout, and it is taken from the Equipping Minds Cognitive Development Curriculum. I come in very differently when helping students who are struggling with math or reading or writing by actually addressing the underlying cognitive skills that will make you successful when you are teaching those subjects. But let's first take a look at what is crucial to be successful in doing math. First of all, number sense is essential, and that is simply the ability to understand and manipulate quantities. A number line, I love a number line. It provides that spatial representation that is key. I love to use linking cubes, and so I would take a linking cube and put it on the 1. And then I would take 2 additional cubes and there we could actually see that 1 plus 2 equals 3. Now, we could continue building on that as well. And if I have 2 cubes, and then I put 3 cubes with it, they're going to see that 2 plus 3 equals 5. And I always use that language. Now, I even love to come in and use words so that they see 2 plus 3 equals 5. So we're coming in multiple ways to help them see how to do that addition. So that language is crucial. Now, if your student continues to struggle, you may have heard the term Dyscalculia, and that is simply something where they'll say this is a disorder where students struggle to learn or understand mathematics. It's estimated that that would represent 5 to 8% of students, equally for boys and girls. You may also see that they're struggling with telling time, recognizing patterns. Poor verbal working memory is actually linked to dyscalculia in young children. Also, especially when they hit adolescence and you are, doing multiple steps in a math problem, that's where that working memory can really impact that ability. So you can sit there and go over the steps to the math problem and say, oh, do you understand? Yes. And they're like, yes. And now maybe you even do one together. But then you go over and you see that they've missed a step. You will also see some visual spatial working memory problems as well. And that supports the number representation, such as place value, aligning your numbers in columns, and even with counting. So poor working memory can be a crucial underlying cause for why those difficulties are there. So as they're trying to even remember and hold on to the rules and the concepts and ascending and descending order, and especially as you get up to algebraic functions. So my focus in the time we have today is to give you some tools that we use here at Equipping Minds And we do work with families online, but we also have a free workshop on the Equipping Minds YouTube channel that I encourage you to watch because it's going to help in countless areas. And there's also some training that you can find on the Equipping Minds website. But please go to all of that free training on the Equipping Minds YouTube channel. So we already talked about for a minute the number line, but I'd like to do a couple of other things with the number line. And especially if your student really, really struggles, and this is how we're going to want to come in, okay? And I love to come in and I've got my number line, and then I take linking cubes and I just cover up some numbers. And we'll just do from 1 to 12 right now. And then I would ask them, what number is hiding under the yellow cube? And what I'm hoping is that they're going to be able to look at the 3 and know, oh, that's 4. Or who's hiding before the 5? So we're looking at going forward with adding 1 or subtracting 1. What I don't want to see is, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. I really do want them to be able, so to speak, to just look at this, and you can even cover it up and look at that and know who's hiding there. We would do the same thing here with who is hiding under the green cube. And so I love to make it a game, absolutely. When someone is struggling, we literally take them back to +1. And I know that may sound simple, but we have found it to be crucial, even with students who are struggling in algebra. Because many times I may say, oh, well, what's 4 plus 4? And they'll say, oh, 8. 5 plus 5, 10. Because they've learned a little song. And then I'll say, so what do you see for 4 plus 5? They're like, 7. Okay. And that tells me right there that they do not have number sense. Because if you know that 4 plus 4 is 8 and 5 plus 5 is 10, then 4 and 5 have to be 9. So we start with +1. And especially for students who really have no concept of that, I love to start with how old they are. So imagine I have a 7-year-old and I would ask them, so how old are you? They're 7. Because I have found that children can tell me that. And then I'll ask this question. So how old are you going to be on your birthday? And almost always they can tell me 8. I'm going to be 8. So right there is +1. So we would look at our number line and I would say, see, 7 plus 1 is 8. So when you were 3 years old, how old would you have been on your birthday? Oh, 4, because 3 plus 1 is 4. And so we're making this a game. We're talking about their birthday, which who doesn't like to talk about their birthday? So then we would go over and we would go to our number page. And you can either start here on the 1 through 5, or we also have a 1 through 9. And there are 100 numbers here, but this does not look like a 100 number math fact sheet. And do not tell your student that we're working on math, okay? We're playing games. That's what we do here, is we use games that are research-based, and I encourage you to read the research on Equipping Minds and to make learning fun and accessible and build those cognitive skills that are essential. So here we go. So I would simultaneously be looking at our number line while we are doing this. So you would have the number line available right there beside. And so you would look at your first one and you would say, so what do we see for 8 plus 1? And we can just come over here and look, and 8 plus 1 equals, 9. And what we're going to do is write the 9 on top of the 8. And so 5 plus 1. So if you're 5, how old would you be on your birthday? 6. 9 plus 1, 10. 2 plus 1, 3. And when you would just simply continue doing this, okay? And looking at the number line, if you need to do that. With some students, you may not need to do that. But then we would take a white sheet of paper, and then I would ask them this question. So what number did you see under the 9? 8. 5, 9, 2. So we just did plus 1 and minus 1. And they were having to imagine numbers and symbols in their head. Because this doesn't look like we're subtracting 1. Now, once they can do plus 1, we move to plus 2. And this is the question I ask. This is how I word it. And this is very crucial. Please hear me. Because you can only build the brain with what the brain knows. That's how we increase our learning. So this is when I would say, so if 8 plus 1 is 9, then 8 plus 2, and we would look at our number line, is 10. So if 5 plus 1 is 6, then 5 plus 2 would be, 7. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 9 plus 2 would be, 11. We would keep doing this and build it up. So if 8 plus 2 is 10, 8 plus 3 would be 11. If 8 plus 3 is 11, 8 plus 4 would be 12. But they would do the entire sheet, plus 1s, and then if they have that mastered, then we would add plus 2. And when that's mastered, we would add plus 3. And then we can even come in here and say equal. So this is 8 plus 1, 6. Equal 9 plus 1, 3. So equal plus, equal plus. Then we could do equal plus minus. Okay? 8, 6, 8. So equal plus minus. And we're building that working memory. And then we could do equal plus 1 plus 2. Equal plus 1 plus 2 plus 3. Equal plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. And it just keeps building. So we just have a short time for this session today, but I wanted to give you that foundational piece. So, which is super, super fun. The other thing you need to do is work on that processing as well. So I would take either a deck of playing cards, the card game set. I love to use the card game Blink. I have 31 different games that we use with Blink, and I'm just going to show you one little thing for number sense right now. And that is we would put down a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. But I would first ask them, how many do you see on my card? And see if they can tell me 1. Now, if they do not know their numbers yet, please hear me. If they don't know their numbers yet, you are not going to put down a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You are simply going to start with 1. And the other thing I love to do with that is on our number page. We would come in and we would trace our ones and say, find our ones, 1, 1, 1. And you start with what they know. If they only know 1 and 2, then we start with 1 and 2. And then we would add 3 once they know 1 and 2. Okay, do you see what we're doing? Do not put them all down when they do not even know 1. Okay, it's going to be overwhelming. The too much, too fast won't last. So you're simply going to put the cards down and you're going to do this with them. And you're going to go first. And we're going to say, oh, 5 on 5, 2 on 2, 4 on 4, 2 on 2, 2 on 2, 1 on 1, 1 on 1, 1 on 1, 5 on 5. And you would proceed to take turns. That is crucial in equipping minds. You're doing it with the student. It's very engaging. Hey, let's play some games. And we are building that math sense, building that working memory, building that processing. And when they're doing it, they're using language. If your student is pre-verbal, you're going to be their voice. So then I want to teach you the game of Tic Tac Toe. And I'm sure many of y'all have played Tic Tac Toe and you feel like you know how to play Tic Tac Toe. We play at Equipping Minds Tic Tac Toe all the time. And we have an animal board, a letter board, a president board, our number board, a blank board. And so this is what we would do. So once you have taught them to play tic-tac-toe, and we begin by the concept of 3 in a row, going horizontally, going vertically, going diagonally, and we would start on one board, but then we would go to 2 boards. Remember the visual spatial piece? And we would say, oh, I see myself on 1. And then the other person would say, I see myself on 5. Well, I see myself on 2. And this is one game played on 2 boards. So the blue person would say, well, I see myself on 3 to block you. Okay, see, he was on 1 and 2, so he needs to go on 3 to block. Well, then the green person should say, well, I see you on 3 and 5, so I see myself on 7 to block you. So then the blue person is imagining what the other person is going to do, and they're going to be seeing it from their perspective. Well, I see myself on 4 to block you. Now they're looking and saying, well, I see myself on 6 to block you. And then the blue person is going to say, well, I see myself on 8. And someone may say, well, nobody can win this game, but I always want you to continue playing to the end because it is a visual spatial, visual transporting game. And can they see where the empty spot is? And then, oh, I see myself on 9. Then once they can do that, we would play where we covered up all of the numbers. And so we are really working on that ability to visualize and manipulate numbers in our mind. And they would have to say what number is hiding under the cube. So they would have to say, oh, I see myself on 9. And then they could take off the cube. Okay, I see myself on 5. I see myself on 7. Oh, I see myself on 8 to block you. I see myself on 2 to block you. I see myself on 4. Well, I see myself on 6 to block you. Well, I see myself on 3 to block you because you're on 6 and 9. So now I'm on 3. And then they would look for that last spot. Where hasn't anybody gone? And that's when they're going to say, I see myself on 1. And so that is really challenging. Well, once they can do that, we play where they are coming over to the blank grid and actually writing the numbers down. I see myself on 1. I see myself on 5. Eventually, they play where they're simply touching and they're saying, I see myself on 1. Well, I see myself on 9. Eventually they play with no board. And you're just saying, well, I see myself on 5. Well, I see myself on 7. Well, I see myself on 4. You're like, well, I see you on 4 and 5. So I see myself on 6 to block you. Okay. And you play it in your mind. And that is fabulously a lot of fun. And then another game is where we're doing a memory game. And we use cubes, letters, shapes. You can absolutely write down numbers. And so you're writing down numbers and saying, okay, I see 4, I see 1, I see 7. Now take a picture of that in your mind. So you're working on visualization. You do not, please hear me, you don't want them saying 417, 417. You're trying to get away from that, okay? But they're visualizing it. Then you cover it up because you're going to say, what do you, take a picture in your mind is what I'll say. So take a picture in your mind and tell me when you have your picture. So they're trying to imagine like this whiteboard and imagine 4, 1, 7. And they can even write that in the air. And then you cover it up and then you'll say, okay, so now make what you saw in your picture. And so let's just imagine that they came down and did this. Okay. And I would say, okay, let's check. Do we have a match? And I want to see if they know if we have a match. I never say, oh, you got that wrong. I never say that. Okay. I'll say, oh, check that. But first I would say, do we have a match? And see if they see. And they're like, okay, so go ahead. Let's make it match. And let them go ahead and correct it. Okay. Hey, nicely done. We have a match. Hey, you make one for me now. And let them have a turn. So those are just a few working memory, processing, visualization, visual spatial games that I use. Not all of them, but this is just an introduction. And like I said, please go to the Equipping Minds YouTube channel and watch the free 8-week workshop, download the free handout. Under the Equipping Minds shop, there's actually 2 there, plus links to 3 more hours of free training using a deck of cards and just coins and blocks and Lego men and things that you would have around the house. So if you go to the Equipping Minds website, under the shop, where it says games from Amazon, then you'll see some handouts and more free videos and training. So thank you for allowing me to share just some working memory and processing and visual spatial games to help your student who's struggling with math. And the last 2 things I'm going to say, okay, is when you're teaching math, I really recommend doing it for maybe 15 or 20 minutes in the morning and 15 or 20 minutes in the afternoon. Every time I hear someone say, oh, we spent an hour and a half on math, I just want to cringe. Y'all, I was a private classical school headmaster for many, many years. And yes, it's never a good thing, okay, when you're spending that long, unless you have a student who absolutely loves math and they just want to keep doing math. Okay. But if you ever see your student frustrated or you're getting frustrated, please stop. Please stop. the brain will then shut down and then they are not going to like doing math. If you're also just stuck with math, I'm going to ask you to put it aside. Okay, put it aside and work on these working memory processing visual spatial games with them to develop that math sense and that ability to follow multiple step directions. Okay, and that is crucial. Now, if you have a student struggling with algebra, we teach math one step at a time. So you may take 5 math problems that are similar, the same concept, and only do step 1. And then once they have step 1, you would go back and do step 1 and step 2 on all 5 problems. And that may be all you do that day. And the next day, you would see if they remember step 1 and step 2, and then you would add step 3. Okay, when I train homeschoolers, public, private schools, colleges, and we recommend this with everybody. And I'll ask math teachers the number 1 problem, and they'll say, "Oh, they forget steps." And so when I suggest teaching it this way and they do it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." At first, I thought it would take longer, but it actually doesn't because they have mastery. And so teaching math really 5 days a week, and then also shorter pieces, because when you do that 2 short times, just go back over what you did earlier, you are going to get that to that long-term memory, and you are going to really hopefully develop that love for numbers and quantities. And you have to be having fun because they're going to cue off of you. Okay, so play these games, have a lot of fun. You can email me at cbrown@equippingminds.com if you have any questions. Thank you so much.